Magandang gabi po sa ating lahat. Welcome muli sa aming ISIP-ISAK Conversations on Faith and Society. Ngayon pong gabi ay meron po tayong guest na manunulat, kagaya po ni Ms. Babette Lolarga noong nakaraan. We have si Alma Cruz-Miclat, who is a feature writer. At meron po siyang libro, Soul Searchers and Dreamers. So yun po ang ating ginawang pamagat din ng ating talakayan sa gabing ito. Meron pong subtitle na Art as Resilience. At dahil po Pasko na po, we would like to devote the remaining na mga session po natin in December into paying attention to our own inner life, no? Sa ating mga kaluluwa, sa ating souls. So, kaya maganda po yung title ng libro ni Alma, Soul Searchers and Dreamers. So, maya-maya po siya ay maririnig ninyo. And we would like to also begin with a work of art in itself. Ito po ay si Banawe Miklat din po. Very gifted po ang pamilya na ito. So we would like you to enjoy ito pong kanyang kanta, and then si Marie will introduce our guest speaker for tonight. So Marie, and let's have the video.
Pinapangapangaraw Marie, muted. Marie, you're muted.
Wow! Thank you, Kuya Jail. Talagang ito ang pinakasikat na phrase. I think I need a shirt that says that. You're on mute.
I think
ang ating, yan ang sikat na phrase ngayon 2020. Ang sinasabi ko po kanina na hindi niyo narinig ay yung natunghayan ninyong awit ay ang awit ni Binibining or ni Miss Banawe Miklat Chansen.
mhm.
Isang sikat na theater artist. She's really known for her gift not only in acting pero yung kanyang pag-aawit din. At alam mo Kuya Jail, sa kaalaman ng ating mga viewers, yung Ginugunita Kita is actually a poem by her ate. No, napaka-gifted ng family nila. Si Miss Maningning Miklat, yan ang kanyang tula. And she wrote it way back when she was just 16, no? Ikaw ba, Kuya Jail, matanong nga muna kita bago ako pumunta sa ating guest. Ikaw ba ay may artistic side? At kung meron, ano yon? Saan, anong kind ng art mo ini-express yung mga, yung creative side mo? Bukod sa alam kong magaling kang magsulat, lalo na sa mga research. Pero
Oh,
masyadong ano yun eh. Masyadong left brain yun.
wala
Analytical and
rin yun
all,
eh.
framework.
Oo, I don't do it for catharsis. I don't do writing for catharsis. Depende na lang. Pag nagsusulat ako ng mga opinion pieces ko, yun, it's really because I am
Mm-hmm.
really very passionate about something. Pero put that aside, um, nagpa-piano ako. Yun, yan na, nagpa-piano ako. Not as often as I used to. Before, sumasama pa ako sa worship team ng church namin when I was living abroad. Yeah, so, but coming back here, I thought I would have more time, practicing piano. Pero hindi na masyado eh. It's really, maybe Ma'am Alma can inspire us really to revisit yung art, di ba? The things that we have lost, when we were kids in school, di ba? Yung things that gave us so much joy, for some reason, when you grow up, you lose them eh. And then you tend to think, ba, Marina, parang, aksaya sa oras, and so forth. And I say that, admitting that this is really my experience as well. Ikaw ba, Marie? Do you sing? Do you act?
Oo.
Do you
Eh, hindi
modeling?
masyado
Do you
sa
do
acting kasi walang ganun. O
wala ba
yung
ganun?
acting kasi parang kahit drama na nagiging comedy. Ako mismo natatawa sa itsura ko pag nag-acting ako. Pero I sing. I do sing. I love singing. And I find it easy to learn musical instruments kasi ang daddy ko, ewan ko if it's past, tanungin nga, sabihin ko past. Kasi yung guest natin magaling na artist. So, yung mga anak niya naging artist din. So, maaari nasa genes din, no? So, my dad actually is very musically inclined too. So, yun, na-pick up ko yun. Madali sa akin matutunan ng gitara at mga ibang instrumento. Um, Lately, because of the pandemic, I picked up the brush, no, yung paintbrush, and it does so much good. It brings you to a silent place, and sabi ko nga eh, I get to express what I feel inside without words. Kasi pag maraming words, parang nakaka-suffocate na minsan. So yung talagang non-verbal, talagang guhit lang, or paint lang, tubig at pintura lang, nakakatuwa. Well, tonight, Kuya Jail, I'm really excited because our speaker will actually take us into a journey, I believe, no? Sa maraming mga magagaling, no? Kasamang magagaling ng mga artist natin dito sa bansa. So if I may just quickly share a word on her, siguro yung aking munang pagkakakilala sa kanya, I met her through our ISIP-ISAK. And something about her smile, something about her demeanor is very inviting, napakagaan. And so I read some of her works sa Inquirer, and then I got to know na napakahusay pala ng kanyang mga anak sa art. And so na I'm really drawn to the person that she is. And just few days ago, I was reading the foreword to the book na sinulat niya, yung pangalawa na edition ng Soul Searchers and Dreamers. Sabi ng nagsulat doon, no less than the lifestyle editor of the Philippine Daily Inquirer, si Madam Telma Sioson San Juan, sabi niya, Alma has what it takes to be a writer, has what it takes for a writer to be significant. Bakit daw? Because she writes with so much vivid images, with accuracy, and with forthrightness. Yeah, napakahalaga nun eh, na she writes from the truth and realness of her soul and her experience. And no less than yung book na sinulat niya is actually, sabi ng kanyang forward, ng nag-share ng forward sa kanyang libro, could take us into a journey into the Filipino soul. Ayan. Kasi yung mga artists na mga feature niya doon. So the book is very engaging. Siguro magbibigay siya sa atin ng background kung kailan at paano niya naisip na isulat itong second edition ng kanyang book. Some parts of it talks about her musings during the lockdown. So praise God sa kanya kasi nagamit niya yung lockdown ng maganda. Naging very productive siya. Kasama ng mga plantitas natin dyan, productive din naman po kayo. Ayan. Yeah, something really good came out of the lockdown. At meron siyang part din dun sa book after that na reflections where she introduces some of the artists that are really impactful, no? Most of these are known names in the art field natin dito sa Pilipinas. She mentions about Madam Julie Luch, Imelda Indaya, Dani Dalena, and many, many others. And then another part of her book, talks about the legacy, ayan, and about Rizal. At marami pang iba. Excited din akong mag-share siya tungkol dun sa kauna-unahang Mindanao Art Fair, which she also featured on her book. And lastly, I love how she closed her second edition of the book, yung part doon na love and healing. No, the chapters where she talks about the artists that we have lost and how she celebrates them and their work that are still with us. Di ba, Kuya Jail, no? Kahit wala na sila, katulad nila Sir Roger Mangahas, nila Ma'am Normal Yunggoren, yung kanilang mga ginawang mga work of art nila stays with us as if they're still with us. Hindi ba, Kuya Jail?
Alam mo, sa akin, napapaisip na ako while you're explaining all these things. Ibang-iba kasi yung mundo ng art sa mundo ng academe, di ba? Ng academe na solid research and mga left brain and it's really all logic and so forth. And there's so much more. And the sociologists really have a way of explaining these things, why this happened, and now we became more and more specialized, abandoning the things that make us human. And especially, di ba, yung with art, yung mga ginagawa, nililikha ng mga tao, whether it's poetry or painting or whatnot, they live on, di ba? They live on. And then they remind us that they're still with us. That kind of mentality, I don't think it's really in the sciences or in the social sciences. parang really hardwired. And of course, it has its own contributions in a scientific knowledge. Pero I'm just inspired. Kaya na-excite na ako dun sa mga maririnig natin sa gabing ito, Marie. Right?
Ako din.
It inspires us also after everything to revisit those
Correct.
things so much usually.
Correct. Oo nga. Sana nga, yun din yung aking hope na yung mga manonood natin. Kung meron sila kahit isang araw na blade, maybe December 29 or wherever, baka pwede silang mag-get in touch dun sa kanilang artistic side or creative side. Sige, Kuya Jail, without further ado, I would like to present to all of you our special guest for tonight, ang sumulat ng Soul Searchers and Dreamers, Ma'am Alma Cruz-Miclat. Magandang gabi po.
Magandang gabi, Ma'am Alma.
Magandang gabi. Magandang gabi.
Welcome back to ISIP-ISAK.
At maraming salamat, Ate Melbs, Dr. Melba Magay and Isaac for the invitation to guest at ISIP-ISAK, where my husband, Dr. Mario Miclat, was your guest a few weeks ago. Mukhang suki na yata kami, no, Marie and Jael? Anyway, I just had a virtual launch on my 70th birthday, the day before yesterday, of my latest book, Soul Searchers and Dreamers. It is the sequel to my Soul Searchers and Dreamers artist profiles published 5 years ago. The pandemic did not give me a chance to have my family and friends come together face to face for the event like what I had 5 years ago when that book, the Soul Searchers and Dreamers Artist Profiles, was launched at UP Asian Center. The recent Zoom launch, however, gave an opportunity to my best friend, a nurse, and her doctor husband based in Ohio, to join us in the Zoom room. You see, COVID-19 can never beat us Pinoys in finding ways to celebrate milestones, even in the direst circumstances. After my family returned to the Philippines from China, following the People Power Revolution in 1986, Mrs. Narita Gonzalez, wife of national artist N.B.M. Gonzalez, asked me to contribute a piece to her book, together with 11 others. It would be the first time that I would write something for publication. What I did was to recollect our life from the time my husband and I met at the University of the Philippines. And then, that was the so-called first quarter storm during the 70s. And then, to our life in China, where we lived for 15 years. I thought of the words of English poet and playwright Ben Jonson, which was often quoted by my husband. It says, "Look into your heart and write." The book, The Writer's Wives, published by Anvil in 2000 and edited nga by Mrs. Narita Gonzalez, would become a finalist in the National Book Award for Anthology of Essays. Meanwhile, that was not 2000. Meanwhile, my daughter Maningning's book of poetry in 3 languages, English, Filipino, and Chinese, entitled Voice from the Underworld, a Book of Verses, published that year also by Anvil, was a finalist too in the same awards for the poetry category. It was launched April 15, 2000 on Maningning's 28th birthday. But she unfortunately passed away on September 29, 5 months after her book came out. Losing a child most beloved is a tragedy that you cannot wish even to your worst enemy. It defies logic and runs counter to the natural scheme of things that children bury their parents, not the other way around. In an essay titled The Lighthouse, I wrote, "A few days after my eldest daughter Maningning passed on in 2000, my husband Mario, my youngest daughter Banawe, and I found ourselves trekking to Corregidor Island. We thought that the forlorn tadpole-shaped island at the southern tip of Bataan Peninsula, 42 kilometers west of Manila, would offer solace to our battle-weary selves in the same manner that the island provided the last defense against the Japanese invaders during the Second World War." Writing the piece was heartbreaking, but it ended with this hopeful paragraph. "From a vantage point atop the hill of a good friend's seaside property in Anilao, Mabini, Batangas, I took on the exhilarating beauty of nature. The mountains serving as a cove in this part of Talumpang Peninsula, facing Maricaban Island, with water so blue and placid. I did not experience vertigo this time. Even as life has been a roller coaster journey of grief and pain for us, it has also been a journey of understanding, love, and compassion. Friends and relatives journeyed with us in the vicissitudes of life, and in them, we found our lighthouse. The grief and pain from our loss became a wellspring of creativity. On the first death anniversary of Maningning, the Maningning-Miklat Art Foundation Inc. or MAFI, which we formed during her birthday on April 15, 2001, we launched Beauty for Ashes, Remembering Maningning, an anthology of poems and prose for and about Maningning, written by top poets and writers in the country. It was during this time that I started writing more, even as I had a full-time corporate job in Makati. Writing became my outlet to focus my mind and my heart to other things and not to wallow in grief and sadness. The Maningning Foundation activities also opened avenues, not only for the annual award to honor Maningning's memory and to encourage, support, and award outstanding poets and artists 28 years old and younger. We also got to connect and be in contact with artists and writers, as well as participate in activities involving art and culture. This opened opportunities for me to embrace a cause, which is to bring to the fore the best there is in our art and culture by writing about it and having it published for the appreciation of more people and hopefully the general public. I started writing about young and old artists and their exhibits. And my 2 volumes speak a lot about them. I write about topics close to my heart and which my family is passionate about. Cultural events like concerts and theater, museums, and places of historical and cultural interest. And I found an ally in the person of Lito Zulueta, the editor of Arts and Books of the Philippine Daily Inquirer, and later, the Inquirer lifestyle editor herself, Telma Sioson San Juan, who wrote the foreword to my latest book. The coverage of Arts and Books expanded with Telma, and which also includes health and wellness, like the article I wrote about why the Good News Clinic in Banawe is a rare good news, which actually segues with art as it features the most generous artist I know, Adi Cooking Nun, whose solo exhibits benefit good causes like GNCH in Banawe and World Vision, among others. I also cover architecture and design, like the one entitled Notre Dame, the Lady of Paris Will Bloom Again, and I am Pace Louvre Glass Pyramid. And education too, like championing Filipino as a global language, which features Dr. Teresita Ramos, who devoted 60 years of her life in language teaching. My creative juices come out when my heart is touched. In her essay, The Awakening of Miss Goody Two Shoes, in the anthology To Be in History, Dark Days of Authoritarianism, where I also contributed my essay, A Peek from Inside the Bamboo Curtain, and which is included in my latest book, Elizabeth Lularga wrote, "The writer's business is not to worry about bylines, prizes, or reviews. Rather, one should be aware of the gift of language one is fluent in. One speaks for others who do not know how to express themselves. In this way, one becomes an instrument of something greater, something divine, perhaps." I must have been a reluctant writer. I must have been a writer of persuasion when the first crack at writing that I did was when I wrote in that anthology of writers' wives. But when my writing continued, and when one article was followed by another, because I was in the midst of it all, and because I saw the necessity of writing something that needs to be written, my heart tells me what Babette said. In writing, one becomes an instrument of something greater, something divine, perhaps. Maraming salamat po.
Alma, that was really very thoughtful. Marie?
Yes, yes. Medyo I'm still immersed doon sa mga words ni Ma'am Alma, no? About writing from her heart and writing from what's true and real sa kanyang experiences. I love how she's, how art continues to give back. When she is inspired by other artists, she also birthed new art, no, from her pagsusulat. So what, art truly just keeps on giving. Kaya maraming salamat, Ma'am Alma, sa iyong napaka-honest na sharing at napaka-inspiring na sharing. Gusto ko lang basahin, Kuya Jail, yung mga comments ng ating mga viewers kanina. Magmula pa doon sa kanta. Sabi po ni Dr. Ruth Mabanglo, sabi niya maganda ang awit ni Banawe. Sabi din ng isa nating viewer, si Ate Boots Mendoza, at kasama din natin dito sa ISIP-ISAK. Sa totoo lang, sabi niya, I love the song and the video. I hope you could play it again at the end of the session. Sige, why not? If we still have that window of time, I think it's good to hear the song again. Ayan. Kuya Jail, ang dami nag-hi sa inyo, Ma'am Alma, dito sa ating comment section. Hindi ko na po maiisa. At maging kay Kuya Jail, yung kanya mga kaibigan at mga followers are also saying hi to him. Hindi ko na maisa-isa. Kuya Jail, maybe you have reflection or questions habang kaninang nag-share si Ma'am Alma.
No, Ma'am Alma, I just wanted to say, for our viewers, no, yung mga kasama natin sa ISIP-ISAK, does one have to be an artist? Does one have to be an artist? Does one have to be gifted at these things in order to be able to express themselves? What would you tell ordinary, quote-unquote, people? Kasi pinag-uusapan natin, di ba, parang, how we can use art, poetry, writing, and all that to help people deal with their emotions.
Siguro, bibigay ko ng example, sarili ko mismo nitong pandemic. Hindi ako hindi ako tumutula. Kasi that's the sole preserve of my husband Mario and my daughter Maningning. Sole preserve naman ng ni Banawe yung singing, no? But during the pandemic, I was able to write some dalit. Yung dalit yung Filipino poems, no? And which ito nga yung sa lockdown musings ko, napasama yung mga dalit na sinulat ko. So it means only that nandyan yung mga possibilities, no? Na kahit hindi ka artist, may possibility pa rin na mailabas mo yung iyong artistry, no? Pag may pagkakataon o pagka siguro may mga when opportunity presents itself, you will be able to do that.
Right. And go ahead, Kevin. Medyo spotty yung Wi-Fi natin, pero go ahead. We are both having some problems sa Wi-Fi.
My internet is spotty, so but I got everything that you said. Well, na-inspire lang ako na itanong yon kasi halimbawa sabi ni Tim sa kanyang comment po, I feel that it's a shame that there are so many expressions that are in the margins because of the indiness of the format. meron siyang sinasabi, wish there were more like Paradise, Think Twice by Phil Collins. Tim, if you could really explain that a little bit, no, yung point mo na yan, tapos ibabato ulit natin kay Ma'am Alma, that would be nice. Yun lang, na-inspire lang ako na itanong yun sa inyo kasi parang at one level, there are some art forms that are being put aside, di ba? Hindi sila nare-recognize. And then, doon naman sa mga hindi artistic, para, okay, is this something that I can really do? And what you're saying, ma'am, is that sometimes the opportunity presents itself. And how do you think people can recognize when the opportunity presents itself, ma'am? Kasi kayo po, madami kayong pinagdaanan eh. We know that you lost your daughter and it's so and it's an art, it's a family of art, so to speak. Parang sa experience niyo po, how would you know that the opportunity presents itself? Is it spiritual? Is it internal? Na parang nangangati kang magsulat, nangangati kang pinta.
Yung yun yung sa pinagdaanan ko na napaka it's a tragedy to lose a child, no? And nagkaroon kami ng isang organisasyon ng mga namatayan ng mga anak, no? The Compassionate Friends, namatayan ng mahal sa buhay. Isang ginawa namin na activity noon, yung art therapy, tapos yung writing, no? Journaling. Merong may mga pagkakataon nga na kailangan mong hanapin, no? Ang mga bagay na pwede mong gawin sa buhay mo. Halimbawa, tulad nun, kung nalulungkot ka o talagang depressed ka, kahanap ka ng paraan para malis yung depression na yon. Anong paraan? Siguro, yun nga, journaling, pagsulat o pag-paint. It doesn't necessarily have to be a great painting at the beginning, siguro, no? Pero kung magpatuloy ka ng pagpipaint o pagsusulat, eventually din yun. Mag-i-improve naman yun, So, you find your place in the sun. Ika nga, no? Hindi ko alam kung paano nagagawa ng ibang mga tao, no? Ang hanap ng sarili nila, no? Pero kani-kanyang yan eh, no? Sabi nga kani-kanyang diskarte.
Yes, and journey. Talagang I think what art does, it helps us journey into our soul, no? Yung talagang kabuuan ng pagkatao natin. It exposes us yung ating mga pleasures, what really gives us pleasure, and it also helps us find ways to express yung ating deepest grief. Sabi ni Veronica Esther Mendoza, sabi niya, siya din daw po na she relates with you because recently they lost sa family nila, she lost her 33-year-old cousin, no? And it was a sudden death, and devastated yung nanay ng kanyang cousin. And ang tanong nga niya is, how has art helped you to grapple with your experience? And I think you have shared about that, Ma'am Alma. Pero siguro just to, if you could indulge on that question, if you can take us on how art, how writing has helped you release or unpack yung mga feelings and emotions that are rather too difficult to put in words. Paano niyo po nagagawa yun?
Grief knows no bounds, and you don't know when it will attack you. I remember pagkatapos ng pagbalik namin from Corregidor, no? A few days after ng cremation ni Maningning, pumasok na ako sa trabaho sa Makati. So nagde-drive ako from Antipolo to Makati. May mga pagkakataon na iyak lang ako ng iyak, tulo ng tulo ang luha ko, at kuminsan makikita ko na iba na pala ang dinadaanan ko at nakarating na ako sa lugar na hindi ko kilala. So merong mga ganon, talagang napakahirap ng na mamatayan, especially ng anak. Ang dalawang bagay ang pwede mong gawin doon eh.
Yeah.
Lubog ka ba sa lungkot? Madidepress ka ba? At gano'n na lang, you wallow in pain, you wallow in grief, you wallow in sadness? Or you try to get away from that sadness, you try to get away from that grief, no? You have to focus on other things. And I think that's what I did, napakahirap, pero I had to keep my mind off my grief, and I had to keep my heart off from my grief. And siguro yun ang nakita kong paraan na magagawa ko. May iba na nagagawa nga nila sa pagpipaint, paggawa ng mga artworks, o kaya merong iba na iba siguro mga artistic work, sculpting or whatever. May iba naman na exercise. Siguro sila pumupunta sa gym, etc. Just to get out of that grief that is really killing you, inside. So merong ang isang magandang paraan din ay you get together with others who are also grieving. Yun nga yung nagawa na magkaroon ng the compassionate friends. Unfortunately, na hinto yung aming pagsasama-sama ng mga naulila, pero may iba pang mga organization na gano'n, Alam ko merong nagkikita-kita yung mga naulila dahil you need support. You need support, You need a group support.
Yes. I think I will pick up on what you said, Ma'am Alma. Napakahalaga nun, that you have compassion as you go through your grief. And compassion can come through companions, through friends, like what you have in your group. Alam ko, kayo nila Ate Fe, very much immersed kayo sa inyong samahan sa church cafe. And I see you really stand by each other and support each other. I think that's very important. But sometimes compassion can come. I don't want to sound like too deep, but I feel this. I think compassion can come from ourselves, and sometimes it best comes when we write, or when we paint, or when we sing, or when we play the piano. Nakapagpahinga yung ating isip sa ating mga critical na mindset that we're trying to I think one of the struggles of many of us is that we try to confront grief with reason. And it's okay. I think it should be confronted with that too. But there are also times that you need to confront grief just as what it is. It's an emotion, and you have to feel it, and you have to go through it. And I remember what Ate Babette has quoted. I forgot the author. Ma'am Babette, if you're watching, you can drop down the name in the comment. Pero sabi niya, make your pain sing, no? If you can make your pain sing, if you can make your pain write a poem, if you can make your pain paint, or if you can make your pain write an article, then it releases us. Sabi ni Ma'am Ruth Mabanglo, gusto ko lang itong ipasok. I think, Ma'am Alma, if I may, I don't want to sound like I'm this person who tries to study your book or tries to frame it. But I just want to say this humbly and honestly. I think the brilliance of your book is that, katulad ng sinabi ni Dr. Ruth, You are celebrating our artists. It's a great contribution to the propagation of Philippine art and literature as you hail our pillars in the culture, our artists. But also at the same time, the brilliance of your book is that you take us into your journey. Kasi ibang bahagi dun sa book is about your childhood, about your family, about your experience in China, of course. And it's very hard to find that mix in a book. So sa mga kasama namin sa ISIP-ISAK, I hope na-encourage kayo to check out Soul Searchers and Dreamers. Kuya Jail, you
Yeah,
look so deep in your thoughts. I want to hear it out from
yeah,
your
no,
beautiful mind.
parang gusto kong balikan yung tanong din kasi ni Ma'am Boots no Mendoza. Ma'am Alma,
Yes.
tinanong niya, di ba, has art, your writing in any way help you grapple with your experience of loss? Ang sabi no kanina, parang whatever it is that helps you deal with the grief right there, right then, do it. It could be art, it could be going to the gym and so forth. But I guess, gusto ko rin pong malaman, parang, is it always like that? Whenever you're grieving, just go back to writing, grieving, go back to writing? Or do you think it's a process na parang you're aiming for that one day na magkakaroon ka ng big release from all this pain? Does it even happen? Is it a process or is it just it's just a cycle? Parang help us understand yung, do you get what I'm trying to ask, ma'am?
Ah,
Sige po, ma'am. I really want to hear your thoughts.
yung journey ko this has been a long journey, no, since 2000, 20 years, no. I remember I did not want to celebrate my golden year, no, nung 2000 kasi September yun nangyari. December, I would turn 50. And ayokong mag-celebrate ng it's a milestone, no? To turn golden, to be a golden girl, no? Hindi ko sinabi ko, tinatanong ako anong plano, anong gusto. Ayokong gusto ko lang magpunta sa sementeryo. Yun yung sinabi ko, no? To visit Maningning. Pero anong nangyari nung na pala, may pinakana ang husband ko na surprise birthday party, no? Ang ginawa niya, kinasapakat niya yung mga friends and mga kamag-anak hanggang magkaroon ng surprise party for me doon sa bahay namin noon sa Antipolo. Sa Antipolo pa kami nakatira. It was a bittersweet thing, no? I was not really looking forward to it. Pero I just realized, nakita ko yung mga friends and family na they were there, no? To celebrate that milestone. Tapos naisip ko na malungkot pa rin ako na I was not over my grief. Pero na appreciate ko rin na they really wanted to celebrate that milestone, to reach 50. So, parang hindi talaga Jail, hindi mo masasabi na you're over it. So you cannot dictate number of years na after 5 years okay ka na, no? Hindi kasi may time pa rin na mayroong mga sinasabi ng triggers.
Wow.
So na malulungkot ka, especially during katulad nito, holidays, malapit na yung holidays, o kaya yung merong mga birthday, ganyan, birthday ng mahal mo na nawala. Dumarating yung gano'n na merong pero katulad nga nung pinanood ko yung Netflix na It's Okay na to be okay, no? Yung K-drama. It makes sense na it's okay not to be okay. But you just have to always find that find a way, no? Eventually to be okay. And how you do it, talaga nasa tao, nasa sarili eh. Kung paano mo paano gagawin mo sa journey mo na siguro malaking bagay yung dapat mahalin mo ang pamilya mo, no? Yung pagmamahal kasi sa family will help you, no, to be okay because may mga umaasa sa iyo no? Katulad nito, as a mother, I cannot go on grieving because I have to support my my husband and to support my other daughter, no, Banawe. Especially since siguro sobra kay my husband, kay Dr. Miclat, sobra siyang iba, mas yata yung lalaki mas mahirap yatang mag-handle ng grief, no, kasi nakapaloob sa kanila and I think that was the reason why he had this health condition na talagang which it's was really very difficult to handle. Nagkaroon siya ng quintuple heart bypass operation and then followed by several angioplasty procedures through the years. And I'm just glad, no, na-stroke pa in 2012. He had all those conditions, health conditions that almost killed him. Pero siguro I had to be very strong for him. Kaya through the years, itong 20 years na ito ng aming journey, na since 1998, when he had the quintuple heart bypass operation, it's been 22 years, no, na he's a survivor of that heart bypass operation. And I think yun yung masasabi ko I did my best, no, to support the family because I love my family.
No, those are very good points, Ma'am Alma. Family and you cannot dictate. Lahat po yun resonates sa akin, you know. And I believe it resonates with many of us who are joining us dito sa ISIP-ISAK. Sabi po ni G. Rojas, sabi niya, I don't think of art as diversion from grief. I think of it as a way to live alongside grief less uncomfortably. So sa kanya, she has a really a realistic view of art. It's not an escape, but it's really living with it, helping you live with this reality. And sa inyo po, after 22 years, that's it. Opo. Ayan. Marie?
Yes, Kuya Jill, dumako tayo sa punto na we will wrap up with our reflections. Ayan.
Yeah.
Siguro simulan ko na bago pumunta sa mga malalalim na reflections ninyo. I just want to appreciate you, Ma'am Alma, for being so vulnerable, sharing with us. And I think napakahalaga ng sinabi ninyo, no, that we need to be patient with ourselves when we're going through grief. Yung grief hindi lang naman yan sa death. It's always about loss. So baka may mga unconfronted nga tayo na losses na hindi natin pa nagigrieve. So it's important to really dig deep into our hearts, no? Para ma-surface yon. And I pray na ma-encounter yun with compassion, as what you've said. As you were sharing a while ago, Ma'am Almang, naiisip ko lang kanina, and I think I would leave this to our audience too, and this is what we always think, no? Pag nasa reflection na tayo, how do we then journey alongside people who are grieving? Of course, we too, I'm sure that we all have reasons to grieve, and we all have points in our lives na hindi natin matatakbuhan yan. How do we journey together? And I hope that our show here in ISAK is lending a hand to all of you, showing you ways on how to be, on how to deal with it. And I hope that this also makes our church people think, how do we walk, no, with grief. Just last night I received, if I may share, just last night I received a text, sabi niya, Ate, thank you for not rubbing verses and prayers on my face. So sabi ko, ay, salamat. Oo naman. And sometimes, we need to just make people feel heard and that they're not alone in the place where they feel they are alone. Maaring hindi talaga natin fully masasamahan sila, di ba, Kuya Jayle? Talagang mahirap sabihin, kaya I'm always careful to say, I understand you. Hindi natin maintindihan ng gusto. But we can say, I'm here if you want to speak. And yun yung mga naiisip ko. And salamat, Ma'am Alma. Salamat, Ma'am Alma. I think art always begins with vulnerability, with being willing to bear parts of our soul. And you've done that not only in your book, but everywhere you go. And that's a big blessing, Ma'am Alma. Ikaw po ay pagpapala sa lahat ng mga taong nakakasalamuha mo. Pagpapala ka din sa ating kultura dahil binibida mo ang ating kahusayan sa art. Tia Jayle.
Yeah, ako ang reflection ko naman, gusto kong magkaroon ng realization para sa church community. Ma'am Alma, alam naman ito nila ni Marie at sa kanila Ate Melba, one of my advocacies sa church, I preach once a month sa church namin online. And isa sa mga paulit-ulit ko, isa sa mga recurring themes ng aking preaching po ay yung dealing with your emotions. And siguro kasi nga, di ba, masyado tayong preacher di ba, sa mundo na tayong mga Kristiyano na parang, wag kang malungkot kasi sabi ng Bible, ganito, or ang buhay ng Kristiyano ay masayang tunay. Parang bawal malungkot. And nakailang episode na tayo about grief and coping and resilience and so forth. And ang ganda lang ng conversation natin ngayon kasi parang we have here a very different approach. And isa itong encouragement para sa marami sa atin na who are in the pastoral work. Parang how can we encourage the art scene? No? How can we encourage the things that make us human? Essentially, that to me is art. The things that make us human, that are being belittled. Kasi nga ang priority natin is really surviving. Kaya yung point, halimbawa, Ma'am Alma, babasahin ko yung point ni Pastor Tim Ngo. Sabi niya, it's a shame na hindi marami ang tools ng poor to process pain and trauma. Kaya talagang patok na patok ang alak at shabu para i-deny na lang. And this is where I suppose the pastoral work comes in. Hindi lang nating mga preachers or pastors, kundi ng church community. And Ma'am Alma, thank you so much for allowing us to realize these things. Right? Very basic, but it's always worth being reminded of these things. Right? Ma'am Alma, did you want to say anything else before we get to Ate Melba? Ay, hello po!
Si Doc Nick! Hi, Doc Nick!
Bumati na lang.
Ang gwapong si Doc Nick at ang magandang si Ma'am Alma. Match na match talaga yan. Totoo yan, galing yan sa puso.
Gusto ko lang sigurong idagdag, kanina kasi nabanggit ni Marie yung church cafe. That's one support group that I'm very, very, it's actually a Bible study group. Before we used to meet face-to-face once a week. Ngayon, we still meet but virtually na. So, yung aming head is Pastor Sunil Stephens from Kerala, India. He teaches actually religion. Saan ba? Anyway, sa seminary. So,
yes.
malaking tulong siya sa amin kasi mostly kami sa church cafe, mga mga seniors na, and ilan sa amin tulad ni Fe, Fe Mangahas, si Jenny Liaguno, si Barbara May Dacanay, mga yung balo, So isang napaka lalo na during this pandemic, na nakakapagkita kami after nung reflection ni Pastor Sunil sa kanyang sariling FB page. nagmi-meet kami by Zoom to discuss yung homily ni Pastor Sunil. And so it's a good thing, during this pandemic na we have an activity like this na magkakakita-kita kayo, magdi-discuss about the Bible, about life, no? About what we feel, bawat isa sa amin. Yun ang siguro isang coping mechanism din namin during this pandemic na we were able to continue what we were doing before, no, na kung hindi namin continue virtually wala na, diba? So may paraan. Sabi nga nung kasabihan, kapag ayaw may dahilan, kapag gusto may paraan. So siguro magandang na kahit tayo nasa pandemic ngayon at napakaraming natin mga rights were curtailed, no? And we couldn't do anything about it, especially we seniors. Now we have to stay home, no? But pag gusto may paraan na to be able to survive this pandemic and look forward to a better year in 2021.
Thank you, Ma'am Alma. Baka si Doc Mick gustong bumati. Doc Mick, bati ka muna. Okay, yes, amen to that. Siguro dumako na tayo kay Ate Melba para sa huling paglalago and to give us biblical insights. Ayan, opo. Ito na ang Ate Melba. Ate Melba, back to you. Back to you po.
Salamat sa inyo. And thank you kay Alma. Yung kanyang paggunita ng kanyang sariling battle with grief. No? Siguro ang unang magandang sabihin is ang art actually, yung sabi nga ni Jerry kanina, is really a big part of what we mean by the image of God in us. Sa totoo lang, it is when we are creating something, when we are being creative, that we are most like God. We most image God. And this is important sa mga nagsusulat na kagaya ni Alma, na pag gumagawa ka ng isang piece of literature, para kang ang Diyos you actually shape yung mga characters, ikaw rin magsasabi kung anong mangyayari sa kanila. In other words, yung beginning and end, no? Ikaw ang nakakaalam nun. Now, kagaya ng Diyos din, siya rin lang nakakaalam ng beginning and end. At siya rin yung nakakaalam din ng what is the ultimate plot ng ating mga buhay. Ano yung hahangganan natin, etc. But also, I think it's good to realize na yung image of God na yun remains even if we are fallen human beings. Magandang malaman yun kasi minsan akala natin sa church tayo lang yung talagang imaging God. Hindi totoo yun kasi when Cain fell, no? Yung kanyang mga descendants, yun ang actually nag-create at nag-invent, no? Ng so much of what we know as human culture. Ando doon yung si Hubal who actually domesticated agriculture and yung nag-shift sila from nomadic life to something more settled, no, na agricultural existence. Si Tubal Cain, siya yung sabi nag-forge ng mga instruments of bronze and iron. Kumbaga panday siya, no? And probably was the one who had all these mga swords, mga intricate na mga utensils, rest of it. And si Hubal din, sabi he was the father of those who play the lyre. Yung mga artist, no? I think it's good to recognize na yung sinasabi sa scripture na yung sinasabi ng mga reformers na total depravity does not mean the absence of God's gifts to human nature. At ang sa ko akong tatanungin, ang pinakamalalim na gift na yan sa human nature is actually yung ability to create, no? To be artists, to write kung ikaw ay manunulat, ano? Do things with words, or to sing, kagaya ni Banawe kanina. Um, may sinabi si Jail kanina, which I think is important, ano, na minsan akala natin yung art is, kumbaga sa economics, walang value added, no? We tend to put it aside, feeling natin parang extra lang yan sa buhay, malayo sa bituka and all of this. Now, that's not true. Actually, it is art that makes us, hindi lang sa human, but it is art who brings us best, no, sa ating mga kaluluwa, sa ating soul. I remember somebody saying, pastor siya, sabi niya, ay hindi ko kailangang magbasa ng mga fiction kasi hindi naman katotohanan yan. Gusto lang niya yung mga theological treatises and ganun, dahil yun ang mas useful. Sa tingin ko, that is a very truncated idea ng what it means to be called, no, as an image God. Kasi sa totoo lang, I think yung mga theological treatises, yung mga social theories even, can come and go. Pero yung really great literature, which gives us a mirror, no, of who we are as human beings, hindi aksidente na ito ay endures through the centuries, no? Great literature endures through the centuries. Yung mga social theories, no? Pwedeng meron kang school ng psychology, school ng sociology, at ngayon, you give it a few decades, somebody will debunk na yung mga theories na yan, ano? Kagaya nila Freudian, etc. Pero ang literature, really great literature, I think, is really something that brings back to us who we are supposed to be, no? So siguro dapat yung ating mga Christians should not neglect this. Hindi po ito extra. Ito ay at the heart of our discovery of who we are as human beings. And siguro kaya ang mga tao na pubor na rin sa mga maraming Bible verses, yung sinasabi ni Marino, maraming kung ano-ano. Kasi nga, tingnan natin yung kanina yung very moving yung kanta ni Banawe kanina, no? Simply yung experience of what it means to once again have memory, no? Yung memory of something precious to us, ano? And sa akin, it's extraordinary na si Manning wrote that at the age of 16, no? Pero yung ganong insight sa human experience, I think most of us deprive ourselves of joy. Kanina na-mention I think si Jay yun, yung ang art as joy. And we impoverish ourselves kapag hindi tayo bumabalik sa language ng art. Because ang art is the language of the soul. Kaya maganda yung libro ni yung Soul Searchers and Dreamers. Hanapin natin yung what is really most human about us. At yun nahahanap sa language ng literature. Hindi ng mga social theories generalizations kasi yun And I'm saying that as a social scientist also. Now, siguro yung last part is yung coping. Merong mga reflections na kayo tungkol sa coping. Maganda yung sinabi ni Tim, na parang yung mga poor, ang kanilang coping drugs at saka ganon, wala silang masyadong repertoire ng how they pwede nilang aliwin ang sarili nila. Now, actually, if you are um, artistic, kahit na poor ka, it's amazing, wala pang gumagawa ng mga ganitong study eh. So kung malaman, kahit na poor ka, pero kung ikaw ay creative, yung pulubi na nagano ng gitara, wala nang ngayon ganun yun eh. Yung noong unang panahon, uh, just a street corner, you have people uh, making music, no? Uh, and I'm feeling ko, baka yung mga ganyan helps, even the poor, helps all of us to survive. Sabi nga, I forget kung sino nagsabi. Sabi, we live by the things that we love. Sa totoo lang. Kaya tayo, we spend a great deal of time sa Netflix, ano? Well, we spend a great deal of time sa Netflix, we spend a great deal of time dito sa mga artistic na products ng mga tao. Bakit? Hindi to escape. No, hindi yan to escape. It's really because we are able to live by the things that we love. And very basic sa human nature yung you're able, sabi nga ni Tolkien, I remember si Tolkien saying, kasi nga he was being accused na escapist ang literature niya, no? Yung Lord of the Rings. He constructed a whole universe na has nothing to do with the, reality, no? So sabi yung mga ganong literary critics na sinasabi to si Tolkien escapist, no? Sabi niya ganito, you do not, if you are feeling like a prisoner, you do not fault the prisoner for wanting to imagine what life is like outside. In other words, ayaw niya na pag-uusapan palagi yung kanilang prison life, no? Because it's too grim. And you do not fault a prisoner for wanting to look outside and talk about things outside of the prison. And I think ang art is like that. It's like a window that allows you, no, to look at something bigger than what is confined dito sa yung imprisonment. So I think most of us are like that. Yung we deprive ourselves of this bigger view of the world, no? Dahil gusto natin maging realistic, quote unquote, and we just talk about yung prison life and everything that has to do with our prison. Sa tingin ko, hindi nga escapism yun eh. It's a resource that God has given so that we are able to expand, no? We are able to imagine another world. And by the way, ang problema yata natin these days is the lack of an imagination. Nawala eh. We cannot imagine another world. Ang tingin natin, escapism yung fantasy yan. No. The kingdom actually takes imagination to believe it. That there is another world. There is a world of justice and righteousness that is invading human history. And there will be a time, parang fairy tale, when things will end happily. Yung gospel, parang fairy tale yan eh. And you have to have imagination to believe it. Pwede ba na yung ganitong ka-grim na reality, there is another world that is being created, no? By the God who made us. So I think yung artistic na task is just as important as preaching or anything like that, kasi it shows us another world and gives us a sense na it is in doing so that we are most like God, creating a new heaven and a new earth. Yun lamang po.
Thank you, Ate Melba. Thank you muli, Ma'am Alma, Doc Mick, and of course, ang laging kasama natin na si Kuya Jael. Thank you. We will leave you with a song, Ginugunita Kita. And before we do that, let me also share that on the 24th, kami po sa ISIP-ISAK ay kasama nyo pa rin At pag-uusapan natin ng isang awit. Kung familiar kayo sa awit na Payapang Daigdig by Felipe de Leon, makakausap natin yung kanyang anak na si Sir June de Leon at kikwentuhan niya tayo behind the story behind that song. Ayan. So, saktong-sakto. Sana mapayapa yung Christmas Eve natin. Kaya, mga kasama namin sa ISIP-ISAK, take this time to join us dyan sa napakagandang episode na yan. Muli, salamat Doc Mick, Ma'am Alma, Ate Melba, salamat. And Kuya Jail, maraming salamat sa iyo. At mga kasama namin sa ISIP-ISAK, kinahandog muli namin Miss Banawi Miclat Jansen sa panulat at tula ito ni Miss Manining Miclat at ito ay musika ni Sir Jesse Lucas, ang Ginugunita Kita. Kita-kita tayo next Thursday. God bless you po.
God bless you po.